Hey guys, this is Hope from the Rhinestone world, and I'm going to do a quick overview of how to work with rhinestones in the TRW Design Wizard. We are on the 3.0 Plus now, which is the design wizard that I'll be working with for this webinar. But a lot of these features you can use in the 3.0 if you're not ready to upgrade quite yet. I would recommend it, but if you're not there yet, I totally understand, and you will be able to do most of the things we're going to do in this webinar with the 3.0. So I guess what I'm going to start with is just kind of doing an overview of how to get started with your rhinestone designing. What I have here, I have a really simple vector here that I'm going to be working with for this webinar, just an American flag. The first thing that we want to start with when we are working with a rhinestone design is a vector. A lot of people will import something from the internet and it'll be a JPEG and you won't be able to actually work with it because there's no lines to it. The best way to tell if you're working with a vector design is going to be by going right here to your wireframe. Now, if you have the design wizard, you will have this toolbar. And here's your wireframe and your enhanced mode. If you don't have this toolbar set up, you can call us so we can do that for you, or you can go to view and you can see your wireframe and then switch back to enhanced. If you're working with a vector, just like I said before, you're going to see all of your cut lines in here. If you're not, what you're going to see is pretty much a big square with everything grayed out. All the lines will be kind of fuzzy and grayed out, and you'll know that you're not going to be able to stone that out. So if we start with a vector, again, what we can do is we can start adding rhinestones to it. Okay, so we're going to start in our Place and Fill tab of the TRW Design Wizard. This is where we're going to find most of our basic tools for adding rhinestones. This is almost always where we're going to start when we want to add stones. So you can see that you have island, spacing, all of these settings here. You also have path fill, hatch fill, island fill, and offset fill. These are going to be the different fills that are going to give you kind of a general filling or setting of your stones that you can edit. So a lot of people, they think they're going to pull up their design, highlight it, and do one click and have a perfectly stoned out design. There's not a software that exists that can do that. But what our software does really well is it gives you a really good starting point where you have to make minimal edits in order to get a good look. All right, so the first thing I guess we'll go over here is just our different fill settings. So you have a path fill, hatch fill, island fill, and an offset fill. What a path fill will do for you, this is kind of a really basic fill for you guys. A path fill will just basically add rhinestones to the border of this design. So rather than having a border, they'll have stones. So what we're going to do is just hit path fill. And it's going to add stones here. Okay, the next thing we're going to do after we do any sort of fill, and I'll go over this a lot of times in this webinar, is click right here to clear paths. That way, you're going to get rid of those lines that connect the stones. Because what the wizard does, it reads the path and then it adds stones to that path. Well, it leaves the path there as well. So we've created a button. You can just highlight and clear those paths. As you can see, it filled the corners in nicely here. It didn't round your corners off or anything. The reason it did that is because we have our corner detect box checked off. Now I'll show you another example. Say we don't want to select our corner detect. If we forget to do that, we'll do our path fill and we can kind of compare in here. Even that looks decent. But we have some of our corners aren't quite perfect. They don't quite match up. But when you check off the corner detect box, you're able to get perfect corners every time. All right, and again, we'll do our clear paths and we'll be all set. So that's a path fill. It's really good for filling the outside of your object. It'll also remove the inside. So if you have some letters that you want to outline in rhinestones, path fill is usually a really good place to start. All right, and as always, guys, if you have any questions as I'm moving through any of this, just go ahead and let me know. We only have half an hour today, so I'm going to be moving super quick, but I'm totally willing to go back and go over anything you guys want to know. So that's our path fill. The next one we're going to go over is our island fill. Now this is a super common one that we use as well. We probably use the island fill and the hatch fill most. So I'll take a little bit of time to go over these. Our island fill, it's really good if we have a rounded object. So if you have letters that are not quite block letters, maybe a really thick cursive or just really rounded letters that you want to fill in with stones or a shape like a circle. Hearts are also good for island fills. What an island fill is going to do is allow you to choose the amount of rows of rhinestones you want to put, and you can either put them on the inside or the outside of your object. You're going to have to, for this one, select the Add Stones button right here. If not, it'll just give you a line, so you can use that for a vector. But we're going to select Add Stones, and let's say we want to add 5 islands to the outside. So we're going to type 5 in the islands box. We're going to select the outside radio button. We can also select the inside. We'll do that next. All right, so our spacing is going to be the amount of space between each individual stone. So that's right here. So that's going to be the space in between these. And that's right now set at 0.02 inches. We don't ever recommend that you go lower than that because that'll bring the stones so close together that it looks okay here, but when you go to cut your sticky flock or your magic flock template, there's going to be so little space in here that it might cut through that and it might make your template a little bit more easy to damage. So we want to keep our spacing at 0.02 or above. Now, as we get into a little bit more advanced rhinestone editing, you can really play with that spacing to give your design a cool faded look or make sort of a scatter. The next setting that we are going to play with is our contour spacing here. What the contour spacing is going to do is when you start off your islands, well, they're going to be an island to the outside of this circle. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller just so it fills a little bit faster. Well, our contour spacing is going to be the space between the object we're deciding to fill and the first row of stones. So I'll show you some examples here. Let's start with one island. So our contour spacing, say we started at 0.02, we're going to do one island to the outside, island fill, and we'll clear that path. So those are super close to the circle. Well, now say I do a contour of 0.1, we'll make it a really big difference. We'll do the same thing, an island fill, that's the only setting we change. It's going to be a lot farther out. With our contour, the spacing that we generally want to start with is actually 0.14. And that will give us enough room to where we are able to fit our rhinestones to the outside of our object and able to line everything up nicely. So that it usually looks the most clean. So we'll do island fill 0.14 out there to the outside. So that's the difference in our contour spacing. Our fill line spacing, that's going to be the next one, is actually going to be the space in between islands of stones. So say if we do like a hatch fill or an island fill, we're going to have a lot of rows of stones. We're going to have multiple rows. So we can increase our fill line spacing to make a wider distance between those. So it's kind of like the contour spacing, except it's the rows of stones that you're editing. All right, so those are all of the basic settings that we would use for our island fill. So now let's start playing with it. We can do, let's show you 5 islands. We're still going to do to the outside. And I'm going to show you guys, this is a cool new setting in the 3.0 that you can do an auto contour spacing. So the wizard will read your design and it'll choose what it thinks is best for you for your spacing. We'll leave our space. Let's increase that to 0.09. And I'll let you guys see the difference when you adjust your spacing. So we'll do an island fill to the outside and you guys should see what happens. There we go. We'll clear our paths. As you can see, our stones are clearly spaced a lot wider than the one up here. That's because we went from 0.02 to 0.09. So that's over 4 times the distance that we increased it. And again, this could be a design feature that you use where you start to space out your stones really wide and give it a little bit of a different look. So that one we ended up with 5 islands to the outside. I'm going to show you one more thing. We're going to do some islands to the inside. So now, I don't know about you guys, but I can't actually go in and guess how many islands we need to the inside of this circle. I'm just not that smart. So what the wizard will do for us is it'll decide how many islands to put on the inside of an object. So all we need to do is we can either leave that blank or put 0. We're going to do inside. And let's put that spacing back down to 0.02. We'll leave everything else at auto. And we'll do island fill. And there it goes. It fills it all the way to the inside. That way you don't need to sit there and guess about how many islands you want to do. And it fills it almost perfectly. The only edits you're going to need to make to this are a few little ones on the inside here just to make sure that your stones aren't too closely spaced together. So I know some people will sit there and will hand stone designs. Well, this makes your life a lot easier. I know you don't get a perfect fill every time, but for me, editing 3 stones is a lot better than hand placing all of the stones in this design. So there we go. That's a basic overview of your island fill. The next one I'm going to move on to is going to be our hatch fill. Now I told you guys the island fill was a really good fill for doing something rounded. The hatch fill, what we use a lot is for nice thick block letters or for squared off objects. So why not do an American flag? Because duh. So I'm going to use this to show you guys the hatch fill and also a lot of our stone editing tools. So our hatch fill, the settings that you might want to play with, you'll leave the islands alone. You don't need to worry about these at all. You will want to select the add stones box. You don't want to leave that blank for the hatch fill. You can choose to increase your spacing with this. Your contour you can leave alone. Your fill line spacing you can increase or decrease. And the hatch angle, this is one that we haven't played with yet so far. That's going to show you the angle that it fills in, the angle of the lines basically that it's going to fill those stones at. It's always going to be set to 0, which means it's going to fill stones straight across. Let's say you want to do sort of a cool diagonal look. You can mess with that hatch angle. So I'll show you both on these guys right here. So let's just do a straight hatch fill at 0 degrees. And now we'll do a hatch fill at an angle of 35 degrees. Now this is something you can use to just make your design look a little bit different, to change that angle up, or it's something you can use if you're trying to fill an object and you don't get a good fill at first. Or maybe you can adjust that hatch angle to get a little bit of a better fill in certain areas, certain corners. Maybe if we started here at 35 degrees, I could say, oh, I want to switch to 0 degrees to get that perfect angle there on the squares. So let's start filling in our flag. We're going to get designing to really show you guys some of the trouble that you run into when you're doing some rhinestone designs, and then some of the benefits that the wizard can help you with to edit those really easily. I have this flag here. It's got white stripes. What I'm going to do is we'll change them to gray for now. So the first thing we're going to do is just get our general fill for all of these areas. And it happens to be that the hatch fill for all of these is going to be the best. So we know we're just working with normal squares. So we'll do a hatch fill right here. And it looks okay. What I'm going to do is undo that, and let's go back and change our hatch angle back to 0 degrees. I think that'll look best here. One thing I'm not sure if you guys noticed, I did my hatch fill and I wanted to take it off and not have anything there. What I did was I hit Control Z to undo, or you can hit the undo button here, and it actually left these lines. If you ever want to undo a hatch fill, you kind of have to undo all the steps that the wizard does, which means you're going to have to go back twice so you don't leave those lines in your design. So we'll click on this. We have our hatch angle of 0. We'll do our hatch fill. And I know it's not perfect here, but we're going to leave it, and I'll show you some editing in just a second once we get everything filled in. So we're going to do a general fill first, clear our paths. So there's our blue. Now I'm going to work on our red. And one thing to note is I have everything grouped together by color. So while our red isn't all attached in the design, it's actually welded together. So it's one object, meaning I don't have to click on every stripe to fill it in. I can fill in all my reds at the same time. So let's do a hatch fill on that red. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that color right away so it doesn't get mixed in with these other gray stones that I filled in. So once again, we'll clear our paths. And now we'll work on our gray, do a hatch fill, and we'll change the color. Let's make it blue since our stripes are gray, or our block is gray. Cool. So now we have this. I know it doesn't look perfect right now, but once we start doing some edits, it's going to start to look pretty great. So we can zoom in here, and I'm actually going to take the vector from behind it so we can see what we're working with. Okay, so it's starting to look a little bit more like a design here. Now, one thing I know I talked to you guys about while we were doing our island fill is our overlapping stones. Now, you don't want any stones to be overlapping in your rhinestone design. So what we have is a little tool here at the bottom left of the wizard. We have mark top overlapping stones red, and we have mark bottom overlapping stones red. And you can even set the tolerance for that. What I'm going to do is just highlight certain parts of my design, and I'm going to start marking all of the overlapping stones. So since I have red stones in my design, one easy thing I can do so I can see my overlapping stones is I'm actually going to change these stones. I'm going to click, in one click, I'm going to be able to select all of my red stones. So I clicked on one red stone. I'm going to come up here to the top of the wizard, and we're going to do find all same color stones. Right, so we have that one right next to it. Well, let's find all same color and size. This one I can find all same color, and this one I can find all same size. So say I had SS6 stones in this design and SS10 stones and some more red. I could find all of the red stones, whether they were 6s or 10s. Well, if I select this one right here, I can find all of the red SS6 stones. So when you start getting really intricate designs, that's going to be super helpful for you so you don't have to come in here and click to select every rhinestone. So I can actually choose either for this. I'm going to do find all same size and color. And it's going to take a second. It searched my design, so it found all of those. Now I have all of my red stones selected. And let's change those to, I don't know, like a green for now. We can always change it back. So I'm going to select one stone. Actually, let's select this whole area of the design. And we'll find all of the overlapping stones in this area of the design. I'm going to mark the bottom one red. So that way you can see all of these stones are stones that I might not want in my design because they're all the overlapping ones. I'll just drag them out and delete. And we can do it in this area too. You can do it for your whole design, or you can do it for just part of it. So now what I'm going to do is mark all of the top overlapping stones red in this area, and I can say, all right, I want to get rid of those. So it's really up to you which stones you want to mark. It's not going to make a huge difference. Let's see if we have any more going on here. Oh, along the bottom. So we've done mark top overlapping stones red, and we've done mark bottom overlapping stones red. And the last tool that we have to find these overlapping stones is going to be merge overlapping stones. And I think this is the easiest. It's kind of my favorite. It doesn't give you as much of an option of what you want to delete, but it's pretty automatic, which is nice because you don't even have to think about it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight the bottom half of the design, the bottom part of it, and I'm going to hit merge overlapping stones. And what that's going to do is it's going to view some overlapping stones right here. And it's actually going to take these two and it's going to turn them into one and place it right in the center where those stones were. All in one click. Boom. So there we go on that. And now we have a design. The main thing we're going to have to work on now is just our spacing of our stripes. So we can just come in here and use our select tool to just grab a bunch of stones. Let's grab all of these, and now I know that I can move this down a little bit, and we can add a whole row of stones in here. If you're not sure if you can fit a stone, all you need to do is copy one stone and paste it in there, and you can see that those will be able to fit. So there's a lot of different ways to select stones as well. That's kind of why I used this design. I knew that it was going to take a little bit of editing, and I knew I'd get to show you the edit tools. So what I can do is go over to my edit tab now, and we have our selection toolbar. So there's a few different ways that we could select these stones. I could just use my cursor, and I could grab those stones, and I could copy and paste them one row below. Or I can draw a line, and I can use that line to select stones. Or I can use select all between 2 points. So I can grab this stone here, and I can grab this stone at the end. So I'm holding shift now to select two objects. I'm going to click on one, hold shift, click on the other, and now I can do select all between those 2 points. And what the wizard did was it knew that it had all of these stones in there, and it knew that I wanted all of them. Well, now all I need to do is use our copy selected button, and it copied all the stones I had selected, and it dropped it right below on that path. So that one's filled in. Now we can do the same thing here. I'm going to grab all these, and that time I just use my cursor. It really depends on how easy it is to grab certain stones. Sometimes it gets a little bit tricky, and you're going to want to use our select tool. Sometimes it's easy enough just to drag to select. And you'll know that your stones are selected because you'll get all these little boxes. Each stone that's selected is going to have its own little box, with the ends having a smaller one. So again, we'll just do copy selected. Yep. And we see that those are just a little bit too close to the blue. So all I need to do is use my arrow keys, and I can nudge that up slightly. All right, so we have 3 rows of green, 3 blue, 3 green, and then we have 2 blue. So what I can do is if I want to make sure this is even, I can just grab all these green stones. Let's draw a line this time. So we're going to use all of our select tools. I'm going to go right here and select the 2-point line. And I'm even going to grab this gray stone. So every stone that my cursor is touching, or my line is touching, is going to get selected. So we're going to do, this is draw a curve on a path to select the stones. All right, so I drew my curve by using that line. And now I just need to select this. And every stone that was on that line's going to go away. And it's going to know that I want to select all of those. And let's just change those to our Montana. And let's move them up a little bit to fix that spacing. There we go. And every once in a while you'll get one stone out of place. It's easy enough just to grab your cursor and drag that up. All right, so now we're running into trouble again. We have 3 rows of blue and 2 of green. So all I'm going to do is let's use our rectangle tool. I'm going to grab all the stones in here, and I'm going to tell the wizard that I want it to grab all of those. All right, so now I'm not going to use any of those select tools I used before. We're actually going to come right here to the lasso tool. This is one of my favorite tools. It's actually select all stones surrounded by the selected object or curve. So what I did was I used my rectangle tool, and I made a little lasso or a square around those guys. So now the wizard is going to know that I want to select everything inside of that box. Click here, and all those stones are selected. Now we're going to make them that lime green. I missed one. I don't think it was selected in there. So I'll move these up, drop that guy right there, and we can change him to lime green as well. And we're going to keep moving down the wizard. So I can grab, let's draw my rectangle, and let's make everything. The next 3 rows, we want them to be blue. And keep going. Now we'll go to green. These guys will be blue. Now we're getting real far off. Oh, and it looks like I missed one. So let's change this guys to blue again. We should just have a few more stripes to go. They're all going to be green. All right, and I don't know if you guys remember, the next thing we're going to do is we need to fix this spacing up, right? So I'm going to draw a line on this, grab it, use my select by curve, and we'll just use our arrow keys to nudge this guy up. And we got our blue. I'm going to fix this all real quick. And our green again. All right, so we just got a few minutes left in the webinar. I want to leave some time for questions and everything. The last thing I'm going to do is just show you guys how to respace your stone. Now this is, again, a super basic overview. There is so much that you can do with the wizard and so much that you can do with your stones. But I'm going to show you guys just one more thing here, this respace stone. So as you can see, I have this line of rhinestones here. It doesn't go all the way to the end. Well, what I can do is draw that line, and I can actually respace my rhinestones along that line using the respace tool. And that still doesn't look good at all. We're way too spaced out. So I can click on the up arrow if I want to increase the amount of stones on that line, or the down arrow to decrease it. So if my stone spacing was way too close together, what I could theoretically do is draw a line on it, respace the stones, and then click down. But for this one, I'm going to click up, and you can see it's going to add perfectly spaced stones right along that line to fill in that design. I can even grab my shape tool and come in and edit this line, so I know that the edge of my rhinestone line is going to be right there at the edge of that design. All right, I'm going to click off of it, and let's clear that path. There you go. So now I know those lines are all perfectly spaced. I can do that one more time here, and this design is going to be just about done. And we did all of that in less than 10 minutes. We respaced and resized all of these stones perfectly. So we're going to respace here. Increase, increase, increase. There we go. And I was a little bit crooked, so we'll just grab our shape tool, click on the edge so we can get that node, and move this guy right back up. Click off of it, clear paths. Let's clear that path one more time. And we'll delete that guy. All right, so there we go. Now all that's really left to do is to change these stones to where they're actually the right color. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on one blue stone. We're going to do find all same color, and what we got. We want to make those guys white. We'll click on a green stone, find all same color. Let's make them red. And let's go to our gray, find all same color. And we'll make these blue. So now we got that perfect looking American flag. Maybe one stone, we'll change that over. And we'll use the wizard to add a nice dark background onto it. And we're pretty much all set. Now we can go in and we can add some white stones in here for stars if we need. We can do anything. And then if you want to show this to your customer and you want it to look like this is actually made of rhinestones and not just made of a bunch of dots, make it look a little bit more appealing to them, all I need to do is highlight this whole design. I'm going to go to my mock-ups. On this guy right here, we can go in and simulate stone. So it's going to make all those little rhinestones actually look like rhinestones, and it's going to give them that sort of gleam that we like with our stones. That way the customers, it'll look a little bit more appealing to them when they see it on here rather than just seeing a design made of dots. If you're really into the bling and you want to really let them know that this design is going to sparkle, I'm going to click right above it, and I'm going to get my little bling star, and I can add that in there. I'm going to add one. We can stick it in the center of our design right here, and I can even stretch or shrink that to make it really blingy, or a little bit less. You can throw that in there just so our customers know that this design is really going to shine. There we go. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. This was just a quick 30-minute free webinar. We do have a lot of other training options for you guys. Of course, we have the call center, which you guys can call at 941-755-1696. And just ask us any questions. If you want some more in-depth training, we do have some paid webinars. They're a little bit longer, so you get about 45 minutes. You also get written guides, you get free designs. There's usually a coupon code. So there's a lot of resources that you can go to for training. We even have one-on-one training, so you can come here and train with us. We have our YouTube page. Anything that you guys really need, we probably have a video for. We're willing to help you to learn it. So if you guys have any questions at this point, just go ahead and call the call center. I will be in there for the rest of the day. And everybody else, Have a great day.